ladies and gentlemen, friends and family all around the world. It's Greg.
It's Matt.
And it's the bottom tier. We're back again.
Bottom.
And there you have it, friends, the official bottom tier chant. Make sure that you do that in public, loudly, with no context. People who know will know. Matt, how you doing, man?
Great. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, dude. A little tired, but you know.
Yeah, it's a day. It's been a day.
We record these on Wednesdays, which
is hump day.
Yeah.
Which is the middle of the weekday.
Exactly.
Which means it's like kind of the day
it's like
where
the
you're the
tiredest day.
Yeah, you're like the first 3 days of the week, you're like really, really productive. And then like halfway through Wednesday, you're like, I accomplished a lot this week.
I think I'm done.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I think that's explains it. You get fatigued on a Wednesday.
You do get fatigued on a Wednesday,
Yeah.
which is a really great segue, which I guess we're just going to jump.
No, I just wanted to kind of do, it's like a innuendo. I don't know. No, that's not an innuendo.
No.
Foreshadowing.
Oh, there we go. It's a clever literary device.
Yeah.
And then I had to go and spoil it by
Yeah.
immediately being like,
Yeah, I was foreshadowing the episode.
I'm sorry, Matt.
But that's okay. The episode is about fatiguing today, but not about the fatiguing you might think in Flesh and Blood. But before we get there,
A little bit more foreshadowing for everybody. Before we get there.
What's new with you? What's new in life?
Oh, not much, man. Just, rocking and rolling, doing basically the same thing as I always do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. Life is so boring, Matt.
It's not because you know why? Because we have things called hockey.
Guys, Matt's been on this hockey kick for like the last week.
I got obsessed with hockey.
He did. He really did.
Yeah.
He literally 4 seconds ago texted me a bunch of like who's playing when things for when my team is playing his team.
Yeah.
Like literally. He's
Guys,
hardcore into this right now.
I'm really into hockey. We talked about last week how I was kind of taking like a little like break a little bit for other things and just got into hockey.
Hockey just filled that flesh and blood void.
I guess so. But guys,
It's a hockey podcast now, everybody.
I just wanted to mention that.
Go Sharks.
If you have any hockey fans out there, just say what's up. And that's all I wanted to say.
All right.
Now the world knows I'm into hockey. Let's get the fans going.
I expect the comments section
To be barren.
one or two comments, maybe, but at least half of those are going to be.
I hope so. Hockey
Sucks.
No, it's not going to be hockey sucks. It's going to be hockey's the greatest sport of all time. And my favorite team is blank. That's what I want to hear.
Everybody, you heard it here from Matt. Go down to those comments and you leave that little form sentence. Hockey is the greatest sport in the world, and my favorite team is insert team name.
Exactly. There you go. So that's what I wanted to mention real quick before you start talking about fatigue.
Bottom tier homework. All right. So with that fun little aside out of the way,
Yeah.
let's jump into what the podcast is about today, Matt, which as you foreshadowed a couple of times, you just turned a light on and off. What? Why?
Because I'm ready.
You threw me off. You've ruined my entire flow now. I had a whole thing.
It's dead. You're deading the air.
Look, it's not a radio show. It's a podcast. All right. The air is what I tell it to be. Anyway, so fatigue. You mentioned this a little bit earlier with that wonderful foreshadowing. We've noticed here in our local community that we're entering this place of like we're coming off of ProQuest. There's nothing really huge happening for the next month or so until Outsiders comes out. We start moving into skirmish season and all that kind of stuff. So for us, we've sort of entered this really interesting period where a lot of people seem to be stepping back from the game, a little less, engaged, a little less going to things. So we wanted to sort of dig into that a little bit here today and talk about, sort of the fatigue that comes along with playing the game, especially when you're playing at a competitive or a semi-competitive level, or you're playing around people who are that sort of competitive sort of person, and just kind of how we deal with it. So Matt, I know that you've been on a little bit of a break here recently. You're feeling a little bit of that fatigue as well.
Yeah.
So what's it been like for you? What are some of the things you've kind of done to, sort of restore some of that energy, to kind of come back from it a little bit? And other than hockey, what have you been filling the time with?
I mean, I guess it kind of starts with like what's happened with like the playing in general. Like it's kind of a once a week, like I got to go out, hang out with people, and it's a commitment that you do, especially with like what we're doing. Like you and I have like the Commer Cup and everything like that we do. And so it becomes kind of more like a thing that's set on the schedule always. And sometimes it's nice to be able to peel back that schedule a little bit because like you just need a break of like all schedules. So that's what last week really was, or the week. Yeah. Last week was for me was just A, I had personal stuff, but B, like being able to take off that schedule was good. So literally like filling it in with just not even thinking about the game has been
with just like having some free time and hanging out with the wife and
I honestly,
the dogs.
I think it was almost just like a hobby, like no hobby, like besides
hobby pause.
I guess it was getting into a different hobby, but I guess it was just like a hobby pause of like, I didn't really do any of the hobbies that I typically do. I just wanted to restore the love I have of those hobbies. Like
totally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like that, you really kind of like, for me at least, you kind of hit upon the crux of it with that last thing that you said. Like whenever you do anything for a long enough period of time, when you do it intensely enough, you hit a point where you just don't want it anymore. And it doesn't matter how much fun you're having with it. It doesn't matter how much you love it. There comes a point for all people, I think, where you just go, I'm done with this for right now. I need to go and do something else and focus on something else, and then I'll come back to this when I'm ready.
Yeah.
And so like it's really, really important to identify that sort of within yourself and like know when you're hitting that point. Because when you start to like push beyond that and you start saying to yourself things like, well, I have to go, they're expecting me to be there, or I don't really want to go, but I have to because it's it's what I do every whatever day or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's the point where you start to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
And it's where you start to lose the spark that gets you into things like this.
Right. You're right on that. And that's okay. But there's also like something to talk about too, about that spark, right? Because the ignition was really, really hot in the beginning, right? It was like, it was a constant thought process of being obsessive with, and if you can't tell by my personality, just by explaining the other thing real fast in the beginning, which might be coinciding really, maybe other foreshadowing, but it just, being obsessed about it in such a point where I was like excited about this thing and thinking about it all the time and like excited to go buy packs and like constantly, like right now, like I almost feel like I did that groundwork. I have my stuff and I don't really care. Like, I don't want to focus on changing my thing again. I don't want to unsleeve these cards and like sleeve them back up. I don't want to do that. That's like so much.
Flip and tell me about it.
That's so much work. Like sometimes I go home, it's like, man, that's like 4 hours that I'm doing this. And even though I love the game and all the concepts and everything with it, it's just like, there is so much work to be in there. And like, I feel like Flesh and Blood for a short time there was like, we got to figure out this new meta. And it was like a really fun game. And it was like, I am burned out from trying to find the meta. And then it's like, we're going to do a ban and suspension list too. And like, and we're going to change what we see that's normal, forcing people to now build again, as we just wanted to coast until we hit the new set.
Which was super exciting. I'm still salty.
I know.
I'm still salty.
But I think that's part of it, is like it's been like a lot of adjusting, which is a good sign of like not knowing where things are. But I do recall seeing a lot of posts on Twitter. I can't really like source my material.
No direct quotes or anything, but the scuttlebutt is.
Is that the Starvo meta was actually more refreshing. And it wasn't, I don't think they were meaning it. A lot of people took it as like a huge diss because everyone like hated Starvo. But I think how I interpreted that is that Starvo was this thing that existed and that it was more fun to overcome something that you knew was going to be there and like have that. And that was more a fun part of the game. But when you don't have something that stands out like that, because we have so many heroes to be able to like kind of gauge for and prep for, it kind of removes that. This is my first TCG, but I've played video games competitively before as well. That rhymes with Shmokimon, and so good.
That was great. That's so beautiful.
But
we're definitely not going to get sued by Game.
Yeah. But with that, like that existed because like the meta was like these core like 3 creatures are like core mechanically like set where everyone's using them, and then you're able to kind of be free with the other ones that could be able to counter that or use it in a different way to make those better.
Yeah.
And it made it more of a fun puzzle. And I think with it being so much heroes now that are all equally good, there's no puzzle to be had. And so it's causing people to almost be frazzled and constantly changing all the time, which can cause more like fun for some people, because some people find fun there, but burnout in others.
It's a heck of a lot to prepare for one thing than it is to prepare for 10 things. And like exactly what you were saying with the Starvo meta or with any meta where there's like one dominant hero, it's much, much easier to sort of gear yourself toward, because you know that you're going to be playing against, X number of whatever. You can sort of build your deck around that, sort of strategize around that, and flex when you have to a little bit, but you don't really need to that much. But the position that we're in now, you have sort of, Oldhim, Icelander, and Fi kind of up at the tippy top. And then you have sort of right below that, you have a few different heroes who are perfectly viable, who you can 100% get wins in, get in there with them. So there's not that sort of one thing. So I'm kind of with you when you say the frazzle starts to set in, because how do you prepare a deck to handle both like a super, super aggro build, like a dash or something, and something that's a little bit more fatiguey or turtly like an Oldhim, or something that's going to just come in with like complete arcane like a wizard or like a Runeblade or something. Like there's so many different variables right now on top of having to play, if you're into the competitive scene and you're doing this a lot, on top of having to play at that level. Like, I'm not surprised people are starting to get worn out. Like, that's a lot to have to put into it.
Right. There's no like solid answer to be like, this is the best thing to do. And it's like a great and bad problem to have, because I enjoy going to somewhere and being totally like, oh, nice, you're playing Dory, like that's amazing. Like I don't get to play a lot of Dories. It's so cool. Or like, oh, Levia, that's that's awesome. Oh, I'm playing Katsu. That's so cool.
Somebody brought Bolton. Oh my God.
Seeing these heroes is very like, that's so exciting to be able to play against, and I'm not ready for it. Right. But also like, I'm not ready for it. Like I'm prepped for the other stuff.
There's really nothing that you can do except hope that they get bad hands and you get good hands, and that's not fun.
Like as a Dory, it's like or not as a Dory, as a Dramai player, Dory is definitely a weakness. So like if I get paired up with a Dory that's playing whatever round one, and it's like, oh, I didn't prep for that because not a lot of people play Dorinthia. It's like, cool, that like shot everything down, and that stinks. And it's not a complaint. It's just more of a like, how can I prep more with that? And then I don't want to go prep because I just want to like play
the game. Yeah.
Play the game, play competitively. I made my deck. I spent my money, and I don't feel like not spending more money.
And like when exactly. And like when you're first getting into something like this, it looks really simple, right?
Yeah.
You get cards, play cards, have fun.
Yeah.
Right? Easy peasy. But once you start looking below the layers a little bit, once you start digging into kind of the complexity of it, it gets real complex real fast.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of effort that has to go into this. You have to formulate the deck. You have to acquire all the cards. You have to actually build the deck. You have to test the deck against all the different, heroes and everything that are out there to make sure that you know how it's tuned and everything. You have to edit the deck. Then you have to go back and retest it. Then you have to get it all sleeved. And then you have to get it all blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of effort that goes into this. It's not just, grab some cards and play once you move past sort of just like the super, super casual kitchen table stage.
Yeah.
Which is a fabulous way to play. I love kitchen table card games. But once you step into like going to the events or things like that, I mean, you've kind of taken the step onto the competitive road, even if you're more of like just a casually competitive player. So you have to be ready to put the effort in. And after putting effort in for a while, especially if you are, less of like I'm going to be the top pro ever sort of guy, like that, it beats you down after a while.
It does. And like, it's as a casual player, because that's where I am at the point. Like I'm not trying to go out there 3 times a week. I'm just sticking to my 1 a week at the moment. But as a casual player, like it also hurts a little bit too, where it's like, I don't ever win. Like I'm not going to win every time. Because like people are taking it seriously, and like sometimes you just got to get those wins, sometimes you just want those casuals.
Like it's one thing to understand that, you're a more casual player. These people are out here doing this 3 or 4 or 5 times a week. So your once or twice isn't going to, you don't have the reps in to be at quite the same level or anything. But if you just lose all the time, if you just can't get past it for some reason, the reason simply is you're not doing it enough. And there's no way to start doing it more really without transitioning out of that, sort of casual space and starting to get into the competition. And I don't know about you, but that really, it doesn't appeal to me that much. I like the idea of, playing the game and improving and, being a part of the community, hanging out with these people and playing this game because I love the people in our community. I really enjoy playing this game. But I'm never going to be the guy who's out there, dropping $1,000 on a deck so that I can buy plane tickets to Belgium so that I can go participate in this whatever.
Which is a
going
really,
on.
really cool experience, right?
100%.
Cool.
And please do not misunderstand me. If you are the kind of person who do this, more power to you, my bud. I love you. I respect you. You are valid. And I do not in any way, shape, or form mean to dismiss what's going on with you. I support your right to enjoy this game the way you want to enjoy this game. Mm-hmm. It's just not for me.
Right. No, that makes sense. Like, I don't know if I'm that type of player. Like, it would be like awesome to like win. Like, I'm always like, I have the hopes like, I could do this, you know? But I don't know if I'm going to go do that because it's just a lot of work to do that too.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. Like, it's interesting seeing people handle fatigue in different ways because like this game is very fascinating because I don't think the game can force you to be a casual player unless you, of course, stick in the commoner routes. Mm-hmm. But what I mean by that is because of the hero classes and it's like everything's so geared towards that, there's no, besides shitty Xmas gift and cracked baubles and things of that nature, there's no like, I'm making this really funny deck. It's always
yeah.
It's very like serious. Like you can't really like, you can't go into like some of these other card games, and I don't have experience with like Magic, but like for example with like like Pokemon or whatever, I'm gonna build a deck just based off Slowpoke, and it's gonna be a lot of fun because I'm just being dumb at this moment.
I'm just having fun. I'm playing around with some builds,
and I'm just
being
dumb.
Enjoy myself,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Slowpoke's whatever. Like that's me playing when I was like 8, right? But I mean like or like Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like oh my gosh, like I'm just gonna freaking spam. Like I'm gonna do a water themed deck because no one plays water, or even like Tolarian College.
Yeah, the prof.
Yeah, the professor. He loves merfolk, right?
Yeah.
He's all about that, and it's funny for him, and it's fun, and that makes it fun because he can do this thing that no one really uses and likes, and be like, "This is my thing," and that's awesome. But Flesh and Blood's is kind of like you pick a hero, and that's your thing, and you only have this select few things for that hero. I don't think there's a lot of. I'm sorry, this is kind of turning into like a criticism thing, but there's not a lot of like. I can't be like cool, like I am running, Brute, and I can also now throw in like. I can have hit and runs with this stuff, so you don't like there's not a lot of customization in that route. There's only like a very small select pool with that. So I think that's what makes people looking forward towards Outsiders is because they're finally like, this is for ninja assassin, ranger assassin, whatever. There could be more like that to be able to build up that card pool more and make it more interesting that way.
100%. Like a broad card pool gives you more options, and more options is inherently more fun.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't get to the point where you're like Netflix scrolling and you can't make a decision because there's 400 things
or
in your
like
face.
Magic where it's like, there's a new set releasing.
What the hell am I doing?
Right.
But like taking Magic for an example, there's a series of sets that started with one called Unglued back in the day, and they're joke cards. They're 100% there to just go freaking weird with things. There was one back in the day where you tear the card up and then you throw it in the air, and everything that a piece of the card touches you destroy. There were cards that were actually 2 cards, and they were like 99.99s, which is ridiculously overpowered, but they cost like 15 black mana to get out.
That's awesome.
Right? Like periodically they dive in and they just have fun with a concept. And things like in Yu-Gi-Oh, you see that as well. Like back in the day, they had like the toon archetypes where it was just cartoon versions of the regular monsters. And like as things have gone on, it's maintained, a sort of seriousness about the game. Both Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh have, as well as some of the smaller ones. But they take a chance every once in a while to have something a little more lighthearted, a little bit more fun.
And I mean, we saw that too with like Rock, right? Like Rock. Like hit it with a rock.
It's still the best card of the game.
It's great. It's still like not like mechanically.
No,
and
mechanically it's not amazing.
It's hard to put out there, but
it's
like
fun.
I wish it was easy to put out there because it's funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, like this is good, and that's really fun. And I would like feel obligated to use it more often, but it's so like. If I'm going to go to an armory, I have to be like, do I really bring rock? And
exactly. Like, do I go and, try to meme on people and understand that I'm going to lose every single game? Or do I bring an actual deck and try to win and still lose every game?
Yeah. And I mean, adding Royal does the same thing. Cause it's kind of like, I'm Royal. But
look at my one gold piece. Hope nobody regicides me.
It's not enough. You know, like it's not
exactly.
It's not fun enough.
It's baby steps, which is good. Baby steps are steps, and progress is progress, and I'll take it. But LSS hasn't really committed to broadening things out like that. They haven't it's in still early days. There's still plenty of time for them to go that way if they want to, or to play it however they're going to play it. But as time goes on, it's like mechanically, I feel like they have a good sense for everything. I think that the underlying actual function of the cards and the game itself and all of that is in a pretty strong place.
Yeah.
Now it's time to start layering the flavor on top of it. Because any schmo can sit down and they can work out, A to B to C to D. But not everybody can sit down and make that fun. It's the fun that's starting to be missed a little bit. And some of that is, it's never going to be like a super jokey, fireworks going off while carnival music plays in the background sort of thing. Like, it's always going to be more of a serious card game because that's how they want to do it. But even when you're being serious like that, you have to have the little moments of levity or lightheartedness in order to break it up, or it just sits on your shoulders like a bag full of bricks.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think another thing that Flesh and Blood does really well is like every set does feel very well themed and they work really well together. And that's where those cards kind of like go with it. And it's awesome. And I think that's amazing. And they do a great job at it. And so it's just interesting, like how much I love this card game, because I do enjoy like the aspects of like pitching and seeing the lines and having things come together. Yeah. And it feels great when you do it. But at the same time, it's just like it's just playing solitaire with yourself at some point. And
right, exactly.
And you're just like doing that game and like, cool, I lost. Like that's the expectation. I can go there. And like, I don't really want, it's because it's like, if I try to do something jokey, I'm going there to lose. And if I can't afford the best cards, I'm going there to lose. And like, that's kind of where it kind of hits and kind of rubs people the wrong way at certain points. And on top of that, like with the expensive price points of those cards for a casual player, it's not like I'm going to do this and like build this other deck and build this other deck and build this other deck. Sure, I have 3 decks right now, but I'm kind of stuck in those 3 decks because I don't have the pieces. I don't want to. Else. I want to go. Don't want to go buy everything, and I don't want to also sell this to be able to do that. So it's really interesting on the card of cost because it's a very cost heavy game at this moment, in my opinion. Like, if you're going into it, with the expectation of I'm going to have an amazing deck and I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to win this, I'm like here to play, like you're going to be spending quite a bit of money. Yeah.
Like
it's gone up. So
Spring Tunic, like let's just look at Spring Tunic for a second.
It's like 200 right now, right?
It's hella expensive.
Yeah.
And it's so useful in so many decks. You need it to power things sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I play Oldhim. You need a Spring Tunic for Oldhim.
Yeah.
You need that extra resource periodically to power those big Guardian moves. But I can't justify spending that much money.
No.
Same for like Command and Conquer, which is like $100 right now, or Art of War, or Enlightened Strike, or any of like the really expensive like staple sort of cards that everybody says that you need. There's no way on God's green earth I'm paying $200+ for a piece of cardboard.
I mean, I've done it, unfortunately, but like I did it when like I was really excited about Fi, but now Fi's kind of known as a villain, and it makes me go like, oh, everyone kind of jumped on Fi because I was playing Fi in a different area where people weren't expecting it. But like with that though, you're right. And it's interesting because we had a podcast, probably number 1, number 2, number 3, one of those beginning ones where we talked about getting into the game with cost.
Yeah, it was one of the very first ones.
And even since then, you can go back and listen. We were saying like, oh, that card's like $40, which was pricey, right? But also like Massive Momentum was like $75. Everything's like kind of doubled. Right?
Yeah.
Command and Conquer is $80. It's not $40 anymore. Like
it's more like $100 now. Actually.
Yeah. And the Marvel doesn't help, So everything has become super doubled, tripled, even to some extent.
It's starting to get really expensive.
And it's like, that's cool. That's also disheartening to be like, I can't, or not, I can't, but it's just like, it's up to you. Are you willing to put your money into that? Because I'm even like going back to what I said initially with hockey, I'm willing to spend $100 and whatever dollars on a jersey, like, right? But I get to wear that jersey forever.
Until it gets lit on fire or something. Like,
that I can utilize it forever and be fine.
It's clothing. It keeps you warm. It serves a practical point. It advertises your team, so you get that little bit of a charge. Like, it has all of these things going for it.
But if I pay for a piece of cardboard, I might not even use it all the time.
Right? Like, I bought 3 Command and Conquers, and now they're going in my sideboard to stay there forever.
Right.
Why?
Just in case to have it. So there's again, I think we've kind of like, we're staying on the topic of fatigue, but it's kind of broad.
We're running the gamut of all of the different.
There's so many reasons of why fatigue happens.
Yeah, and it's perfectly understandable. It happens with everything. Mm-hmm. Like, anytime you put effort into something, you're going to run out of energy for it eventually.
I'm going to get on a different soapbox involving this.
Ooh, very fun.
This is kind of like
pivot a little
like
bit.
A back in my day thing. So it really is.
It's old man yells at cloud.
So we go back to elementary school, right? Yu-Gi-Oh's brand new. And I think I played Yu-Gi-Oh for like 3, 4, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So got the first decks and then was running for a couple of years. And I was continuously playing that. But what was cool is I was searching in a booster pack, not searching up any information about what are in these cards. I of course saw the cards when you open the pack. It's like, here's all the cards.
But you went into it not knowing. You didn't like look up online. What are the odds of me getting a Blue Eyes White Dragon out of this pack?
Yeah. And I didn't care about getting Blue Eyes White Dragon. I was like, oh, what cool. Oh, cool. I can build something off of it. Oh, what can I build off of this?
Yeah.
And like, what can I build off of this? And that's what made it more interesting, is like playing that style. I think fundamentally, like, as time has progressed and we now are like, we can watch people play easier, and we can be like, hey, there's this FabDB website you can go to and see what the best decks are. We suffer from seeing best deckitis,
Best deckitis. There we go.
And with their best deck energy or whatever. And I wanted to just say that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But we see that and we go like, I need to have that in order to play. And it kind of like ruins that fun. And so I think the challenge to be a casual player, and as much as I really want to reveal card from LSS to get hyped and see the entirety of the set and be like stoked on every card because I can think about how I'm going to do that, part of the fun and like opening the dynasty packs and stuff was awesome, but like I wasn't surprised by any cards.
Yeah, it kills some of the magic.
Part of the fun is literally like not knowing what you're getting, and like finding a new build. Like, I think that's part of the fun, was just taking this card, be like, oh, I could build something off of that, and just going to go build it. But it's lost now because we kind of like want to copy that or get good this way or be able to do that type of stuff.
Well, like, basically what we're doing now is we're front loading that same sort of experience. Like we're like with Christmas, right? Did you ever, when you were a kid, sneak out in the middle of the night during the Christmas season and open a present that was under the tree that you really wanted to see?
I was
seal
worst.
It back
I was
up?
so worst, dude.
Yeah.
I found it ahead of time in the closet once.
Oh, man.
This is actually a really good story. I found it in the closet. I like unsealed the plastic of the video game.
Yeah.
I took the game cartridge, I opened it, took the little cartridge out. I think it was Final Fantasy Tactics.
Nice. Okay.
For the PSP when they redid it, the lines.
Nice.
Shut it, put it back, sealed it again. Played the game, beat it, opened it, put it back in there, shut it, sealed it, done before Christmas.
Matt, you monster.
That was terrible.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I beat it and I was like, thanks. And I was like,
but see, that's exactly my point. Yeah. Like, so you did all of that, you beat the game, you put it back, nobody's any the wiser. Christmas morning comes, you open it up.
You're like,
cool. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And that's exactly the same thing that we do to ourselves when we kind of obsess over it like this.
Yeah.
Like, we put a lot of time and a lot of effort into thinking about this nonsense because we like this game. We
have a podcast.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, we're involved in this. So it makes sense that we think about it a lot. But I mean, nothing comes for free. The price of thinking that much about it, of being that deep into it, is that we lose the surprise. We lose that magic moment like we had on the playground when somebody played a card that you had never heard of before. Like something like they imported it from Japan and they had like really poorly translated notes on a piece of paper as to how it worked or something. That happened to me. We were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Some dude imported an Obelisk the Tormentor in Japanese and then proceeded to like read out of a little booklet like what it was supposed to do. We argued about it.
Obelisk the Tormentor? That's the one that has the 2 of the fusions, right?
No. That's the big blue
it was God one of the God card.
Yeah. So I spent literally like 3 entire lunch breaks during a week arguing with this guy about why he shouldn't be allowed to play Obelisk the Tormentor in our, schoolyard Yu-Gi-Oh matches. But that's exactly the thing. Like, we had a long debate about it. Like, we actually tossed back and forth all the reasons to allow it, all the reasons not to allow it. We got like the 10 other people in the, little schoolyard community we had who played cards in on it as well. Eventually we didn't allow it, but for like 3 days, this dude was just obliterating people with Obelisk the frickin' Tormentor. But like that's part of the fun, is having something like that completely unexpected just crop up out of nowhere, which is why, for example, I love putting bingo into decks.
Yeah.
Nobody ever expects you to play bingo.
No. Bingo.
And it's so much fun to see the look on people's faces like, what are you doing?
You're like, bingo.
I'm having fun.
So you take out a bingo card.
Exactly. Give me my prize right here.
Yeah, right there.
But like, kind of loop back now into what you were talking about. Like that sort of like that special feeling, the feeling of excitement and positive anxiety over, what am I going to get? What's even in here? Oh my God. Am I going to get the, things that I'm looking for? Oh, this thing isn't at all what I'm looking for, but I have so many new ideas now. Like that whole process, spoiling yourself in advance and spending all the time on it. Like that's a big part, I think, of what's wearing people out, frankly. Like, and we see this in other places, and not to get like too topical or anything, but like we live in the information age, right? 24/7, there's a screen in front of us with access to all of the data on the planet, and you can find it all within like 0.3 seconds.
Absolutely.
And as a result of that, there's just too much data. There's too much information. It loses all of like the deeper impact I feel like it's supposed to have. And so relating it back to this specifically, like those moments where you go, oh my God, and you're actually like really excited about something, you only get that once in a while now when you like pull a Marvel, or when you get a cold foil of something that you weren't expecting and you really love the art or something like that. But none of that really compares to just coming into it blind and letting yourself have that genuine experience.
Yeah.
And kind of the more you stay on that sort of track, the harder and harder I've found it becomes to sort of get that excitement going again. You know what I mean? Like it becomes a chore almost to get excited over things. Which is, I mean, obviously that's not at all where you want to be when you're engaging with a hobby that you otherwise enjoy.
Yeah. And I think to be quite frank is like, again, talking about other topical things, or not topical, but like games that we're all familiar with is like Pokemon, for example. Before those games come out, the leakers go out there and leak, I'm doing air quotes for those listening, but they leak the Pokemon and you're like, oh, whoa, that's crazy. And then when you go play the game, you're like, I saw that already. Like that ruins the game too, right?
Yeah.
And so like with this, I think with LSS doing their spoiler season, which I 100% adore, because you're giving back to the fans and it's making people do this more and more excited to be able to do that. And again, we would love to do that sometime. However,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I do think that spoiling the entirety of the set like spoils the fun for a lot of people too, because like if with the information age, we're all talking to each other, we're all sharing stuff. We talked about all the spoiler cards have been revealed because we want to be topical for you guys too. But I think only having like 4 or 5 main cards go out per set would be actually really, really smart. Because then it creates that open the pack, like, whoa, this is in here.
Like each set has a couple hundred cards in it.
Yeah, but they spoil every single one.
Exactly, but just like do 25. Like you can do 25 to 50 cards, just spoil it, and then still have 150 left over that nobody knows what's coming.
Yeah.
So like there's definitely like a hybridization that you can do with it.
Yeah.
And then also really frankly, just part of it is that we're just getting older, man.
Yeah,
and
this could just be two grouchy guys talking about this game.
Like that sort of innocent excitement is best left for the 9-year-olds, not the 30-plus-year-olds. I just don't have it in me anymore, man. I'm so tired.
Yeah. Me too.
Yep.
Tired, but also like stoked to play games, right? Like I'm stoked to play and do all that type of stuff, and it just gets exhausting after a while. And again, that's just part of the reason of fatigue. I mean, the other reason, of course, is just not knowing what's happening in the meta, and also like being constantly bombarded with just like. Again, I think traveling makes it more exciting too because you don't have the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it refreshing too in some aspects, but it just every time you get hit with the same stuff, you're just all right. Like it's just the same.
Cool. Go.
Nothing's changed. It's just the same, and that's what we're hitting. And I don't think LSS's last ban list or in suspension list is going to help much. We see Fi in news. Fi is still dominating out there with this ban list and stuff.
Oh,
and
Fi is still going to hit hard.
And it's just like cool. Like the Minnowism was literally only there to prevent Icelander, and now you nerfed Icelander, so Fi doesn't even need that anymore, and just what are you doing?
So good job, you hamstrung both Icelander and Oldhim,
and Fi is still like, man, we're still the top.
I don't really care that much,
which is fine, and he's gonna go get more ninja support this next set. So people are of course like also just like upset at that while losing other heroes too. Like it's a very interesting dilemma of like the Prism players don't want to move to Jubion. They want to have their heralds,
Right, exactly.
The chain players, no more Shadow Runeblade. Bummer.
And you don't necessarily want to move to Viserai or Briar.
Like they don't feel right.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
There's more occasion of having a dead hand, or the mechanic isn't as fun. And I think you just get that from having so many mechanically different heroes that it just you vibe with one mechanic and you just like go forward with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then when that mechanic is gone,
you're just kind of like, I can't play
what am I supposed to do now?
Fun mechanic that I had. So it's just an interesting thing. Like I really am curious to see like the continuation of LSS and Flesh and Blood as a whole. However, like you will experience fatigue in this game, listener. But like
it's 100% going to happen. Prepare for it.
You're going to get fatigued at some point, and we're 9 months in.
Yeah, thereabouts.
10 months in.
Something like that.
And like that, we're hitting that fatigue. And maybe like, again, like maybe this is like the great time for me to be like, yep, I'm just going to be sticking to Commoner for a while until I can kind of get excited again. And that could be it, And so that's it.
That's honestly pretty much where I am too.
Yeah.
I was starting to kind of come back a little bit because I've been breaking since like November-ish, for the most part. Like every once in a while I'd show up to something, but I was really starting to get back into it. I started to think about strategy and all that kind of stuff, really gearing back up, and this freaking suspended list comes down like right as I finish tweaking my old MCC deck to be where I want it to, and now I have to rebuild the stupid flipping thing again, and that just took the wind out of my sails. So at this point I'm 100% with you. I'm tinkering with some commoner stuff. And that's pretty much where I am right now.
Yeah.
That's probably where I'm going to be, frankly, until Outsiders drops.
Yeah. I mean, Outsiders is going to be awesome. So what to expect from the podcast now? No, I'm just kidding.
You and me sitting around complaining.
Yeah, that episode, I mean, this episode almost kind of felt like but honestly, like we're going to continuously talk about LSS and like the things that are going out there and what we're experiencing in the game and be casual about it. Like we're part of a couple leagues and doing online games and it's good. And again, it's the Commoner format, which is good. But at the same time, like Commoner, like after you play every single hero, like maybe I should have saved a couple heroes I don't play or try to like play an Arachne or something like that. But who knows? Who knows?
Who does know?
Who knows? But this podcast is going to keep going.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere, guys. Our complaints and our own little period of fatigue will not affect the delivery of hot, fresh content to your face holes every week. And
if you don't like what we're doing, if we're too bummed out, just let us know. We're okay
Please do.
being told that we're a bummer. We could actually do a break on the podcast and just talk about hockey for an hour if that's what you want to listen to?
No, probably not. That's probably not going to happen.
Just kidding.
Unless we get a lot of demand for it.
If we do,
but our audience is pretty small, man. I don't know if the people are going to show up and demand we discuss hockey.
What? If they announce right after Outsiders, one more here and just a guy with a hockey stick, I'm in.
Gretzky, King of the Ice.
That would be no. I like it. I liked it for a second, but then you said ice, and it's like, just give me a different thing, I guess hockey would have to be an ice hero.
Well, I mean, you're talking about ice hockey,
that
man.
Sucks.
See?
That sucks. Ice heroes. Gosh dang it. You just banned everything.
I can't play hypothermia with my hockey player. I'm out of here.
What the heck? Yeah.
Hey, it's only until Icelander hits LL. That's only going to take like another year. No big deal.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. Piece of cake.
Yeah. With that, we have another recurring segment besides complaining.
We do complain sometimes, but we do even more than that.
Learn something.
Learned.
Yeah, lessons learned.
Lessons learned, everybody.
What is your lessons learned this week, Greg?
That's a really good question, actually, Matt. I didn't really think about this before we got here, so you've caught me flat-footed.
Oh man, I have those.
And we've learned something here today. My lesson learned is that Matt has flat feet. All right, so here's the lesson. It's fun to play with decks, right? Like it's fun to tweak a concept, to try something new out. But sometimes there's a reason that decks are built a certain way. I've been trying out a couple of new commoner things, and I've been running Dromai here recently, and Dromai is pretty solid in commoner. But I built the deck a little weird. I wanted to try to rely a little bit less on tiny dragons and a little bit more on sort of a wider strategy.
Yeah.
And built a deck. It's pretty neat. I liked it. Had a couple of interesting things in there. And I start playing with it and everything, do a little refining. But ultimately, like, I really need the tiny dragons.
Yeah.
I've learned that I really need tiny dragons. So it's back to, just running standard Dromai now. So it's, it's more Rake the Embers and Billowing Mirages and less, Scar for Scars and Frontline Scouts, which is a shame. It's an absolute shame. But the lesson ultimately is, sometimes decks are built a certain way for a reason, and you really shouldn't reinvent the wheel if you don't have a better idea for a wheel.
Yes, until tools provide it to be reinvented.
Until you figure out how to make a better wheel.
Yeah.
At which point, you 100% do it, please.
Yeah.
We've been using wheels for like 10,000 years now. There's got to be a better design out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
That's a good lesson.
It's really not. It's not that good.
I honestly think it is, because like Dromai is a very specific hero, and so it definitely the only thing that makes it scary is the dragons. To be honest, so
yeah, I've learned that.
Yeah, the dragons are scary, but also freaking like your matchups like.
Dude, for some reason I've been playing nothing but like Guardians of Woods with this stupid
rough.
thing.
Yeah, the dragons don't help in that circumstance. So you were trying to solve that, and it still didn't work out. So
yeah, exactly. That's literally what I was trying to work around, the Phantasm thing, and
nope,
not in commoner.
Oh man, that sucks.
Maybe in Blitz.
Maybe
in Blitz.
Maybe, but there's a lot in there too.
Yeah. And there's actually good dragons in Blitz too.
There is good dragons in Blitz.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like dragons. They're good.
Dragons are cool.
Yeah.
So how about you, Matt? What words of pearly wisdom do you have for us today?
Not every hero class is like meant for you. Like again,
there you go.
The mechanics. I understand Guardian enough. It just, and you're a Guardian player, and like I understand like the appeal and like why it's good, but like you go and test drive that deck or that car, and you're just like,
I hate this.
This is a Chevy, and I'm a Ford guy. Like it's like that. Like it's like that. You're just kind of like, this is not what I am looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's my lesson. It's just like, find what you're looking for and what's fun to you. So for me, it's Illusionist right now. It's Dromai, and it's it's, having fun with like weird things with Levia. Like Talishar Levia is a lot of fun.
Talishar Levia is
I freaking took so much blood debt the other day.
I believe that.
I took like 23 damage.
Ooh.
Like I died. From myself.
Ouch.
Against a stalling Oldhim.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was rough.
That hurts, man.
But the fact that I could get that high was pretty cool.
Right? Like I'm impressed, like genuinely.
Yeah.
But back to the lesson, really, really good lesson. And it's kind of like, this is sort of like a secondary point on that.
Yeah.
It's important to know that even like within classes or classes that kind of are adjacent to one another, you may find yourself really liking one and really hating all the others. Like I enjoy playing Guardians. I hate playing Brutes. And you would think just to look at it that they're, broadly similar, big hit, one thing a turn basically, and then, Arsenal pass or whatever. But the classes play so differently from one another. I vibe with Guardian like really hard. Like it works for me. And Brute does not at all work for me. So just because you may look at something and think, I don't know if this is for me, don't be afraid to jump in and try it because you may be surprised.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. It's true. Like I like Brute and I don't really like Guardian. So.
Right? So there you go.
I mean, I guess like one Brute though. I like KO too.
KO's fine. Yeah, KO's fine.
I like KO too, but I'm not a huge Reinhardt guy. Not a big fan of the Reinhardt.
No, I wasn't a big Reinhardt guy. I tried Levia for a little bit, like after the chain ban, because to stick with the shadow thing.
Yeah.
But didn't really care for Levia either. And then
Yeah.
KO, I don't really care. I don't like Brute.
Levia is very solitary. Like you're just playing.
Levia 100% is her own creature doing her own thing.
Yeah. It makes you think in a different way, and I think that's what I like about it is like resource management.
Yeah, and making sure that you get your discards right, and then you're not taking your blood debt and all that stuff. So it's like I 100% get it, man.
Yeah, it's good, but it's just I don't know. But yeah, the lesson learned.
Very good.
What is your lesson learned?
Yeah, guys, really, nobody engages with us.
Get in the comments.
Get in the comments. Send us a tweet.
Get in the comments. A, say I love hockey. This is my favorite team. B, tell us that we're complaining too much. And C,
what's your lesson this week?
What'd you learn? Yeah, those are the three things we want to see in the comments there. As always, if you want more bottom tier content, you can follow us on other social media platforms and YouTube. We keep promising we're going to do stuff on the YouTube channel, so we're not going to promise you anything anymore.
No promises.
But
we will
we
try.
do have videos that are going to be coming out soon.
We've got a couple of things in the can. We're kind of trying to rework our process a little bit to kind of batch things instead of trying to do something like fresh each week and like video wise and get it out then. So hopefully we'll have some content rolling out here shortly. But keep your eyes peeled on it because it's going to be some pretty solid stuff, I think. Yeah.
It's going to be bottom tier level. It's going to be great.
Hot, fresh, and not that impressive.
But with that, guys, we appreciate you. We love all the support and the continuous growth that we're having. And just, it means a lot to us that people out there are listening. And we just love to hear from you as well. We want to be able to receive the listening. So
exactly. This is not just, two guys talking in a room, even though it 100% is two guys talking in a room to each other.
A very dark room.
A very dark, terrifying room full of bats and negative energy. That was actually a pretty good bat sound. But we want you guys to engage with us too, and we want to engage with you guys. So questions, comments, anything that you have, please let us know.
Yeah.
If we get enough stuff, we'll start a new little segment. Call it Community Corner or something.
Ooh, yeah.
We'll take questions on air and all that jazz.
Yeah, you can call in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 days before the podcast drops.
Call it the bottom tier dump truck.
Bottom tier top line.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, again, my name is Matt.
And I am Greg. Thank you so much for joining us here on the bottom tier. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you all next time.
Toodles!